I want to continue with the timeline of the end times. If you remember the last time I showed you the progression of where we are and where we're headed to as children of God, as the chosen ones, and then I spoke about our current age that we're living in, which is the church age, and then the rapture is going to happen, and then from Revelation 4 on, John experiences this, what will be transpiring during the 7 years of tribulation. Now, I want to bring an understanding just around that quickly. It's going to take some time and some reading, but bear with me, and then I'm sure we will get through it. So, why the 7 years tribulation? So, what happened was that in the book of Leviticus, God warned the Israelites that every seventh year the land needs to rest. Okay, the land needed to enjoy, Israel needed to enjoy its Sabbath rest. If you read Leviticus 26 verse 34, let me just show you here. 36 verse 24, it says there, the Lord will enjoy its Sabbaths all the days of the desolation while you are in your enemy's land. Then the land will rest and enjoy its Sabbath. So what happened here was the Israelites got a little bit greedy. They did not rest on the seventh year. So God promised them on the sixth year that He will carry the people through to the seventh year, and instead of obeying His commands, they obviously worked the land on the seventh year. And because of that, what happened was Israel went into captivity. If you know the history of Israel being taken captive by Babylon, and this is where Daniel finds himself now. If we read the book of Daniel, chapter 9, where the 77th is being revealed to Daniel now. So Daniel's understanding was that they've been out of Israel for 70 years now, and it was time for them to return. That was his understanding when they read the book of Jeremiah, that they're going to return to their land and enjoy what God has promised them. But during his praying, his time when he was praying and confessing his sins, we see that Gabriel came onto the scene, and Gabriel tried to explain to him where we are now, where he is, and where the world and Israel will be going to. In verse 24, he speaks about the 77th are decreed for your people, which is the 77th referred to the 70 years. Okay, the 70 years are decreed for your people in your holy city, to finish your transgression, to put an end to sin, to atone for your wickedness, and all that. And then verse 25 says, know and understand this. From the issuing of the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the anointed one, the ruler, comes, there will be 7 sevenths. Okay, we'll talk about that just now. And 62 sevenths. It will be rebuilt with streets and trench, but in times of trouble. After the 62 sevenths, the anointed one will be cut off and will have nothing. The people of the ruler who will come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end will come like a flood. War will continue until the end, and desolations have been decreed. He will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7, and in the middle of that 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. Okay, so we need to understand that when he talks about the sevens, he talks about 7 years. It will either be 70 years or just 7 years. And I'm sure you can understand now where we are going to when we speak about the 7-year tribulation. It seems that while Israel was cheating on the lands that they worked, and they never gave their 70 years, there's 1 year that is still owed to God. Okay, because they were disobedient. So the 490 years was the 70 years that Israel owed God for working the lands, and they never allowed the land to rest and to have its Sabbath. So if we look at scripture now, it says there in verse 25, if we look at Daniel 25, it says there, know and understand this, from the issuing of the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the anointed one, the ruler, comes. There will be 7 sevens and 62 sevens. So when we say the issuing of the decree, we're talking about there were 3 decrees that was issued during the time of the when Israel was taken captive. So the last issue that was decreed was from King Artaxerxes, right? So he decreed that the Israelites could be set free and that they can go back into their land and they can rebuild their temple and they can start to worship their God and have their sacrifices and do whatever they had to. So that was the beginning of the 70s. So this here, then we can put the first 7 sevens, right, was when the decree was issued. And then remember, they had to rebuild the walls, which you find in the book of Zechariah. And that is when he says there to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the anointed one, the ruler, comes, right? So until the ruler comes, which is the Messiah, over here we had the 62 sevens. Okay, that happened here. The Messiah came, he was cut off according to the book of Daniel. And then it says the after the 62 sevens, the anointed one will be cut off. Okay, and then it continues to say, the people of the ruler who will come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. The people of the ruler who will come, who will destroy the city and the sanctuary, is what happened here, right? If you know your history, you will know that the Romans came after Christ's death. So here we find the 69 years, 483 years, which is the 69 sevens. It's added up here, which leaves us with 1 7 missing. Okay, and then what's going to happen here is there's a pause, if I can call it that. The pause is currently where we are. There's no timeline stipulated. Gabriel did not give a timeline in terms of that pause. So he continues to say that the end will come like a flood and war will continue until the end and the desolation have been decreed. He will confirm a covenant with many. Verse 27. Okay, if we go to Daniel 27, it says that he will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7. Okay, that's what he says. He says he will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7. He's referring to the Antichrist. Okay, that's when the 7-year tribulation starts. When the Antichrist will rise at that time, it will then go into the Middle East. He will go and he will confirm a covenant with the Israelites. The only way he knows how to, he will be this military dictator type of Antichrist person who will manage to confirm a covenant with the Israelites. They will believe him, they will follow him. And then 27 continues to say that in the middle of that 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and to offerings. Okay, and that's where we get that 7. This is the 7-year tribulation Daniel refers to. He goes and he says in the middle of, which means the 7 years will be divided into 3.5. In the middle, he will put an end to sacrifices. And then this is where he will rule and reign. This, if you remember, I told you, is where after the rapture, Antichrist will come, show himself. The mark of the beast will happen. He will rule and he will reign for 7 years. And we will go into more detail because this is going to take some time. If I'm correct, from Revelation 4 up until 16 is what happens here. Okay, and then you will find after this, the 70 years then would be complete, and then will be the second coming. After the 70 years have been complete, that will be the second coming of the Messiah, where he will come and he will fetch his bride. But obviously a lot needs to happen for him, for his bride to prepare herself. and to be clothed in the white linen, and then he will come and we will reign with him during the millennium years. That will be a teaching for next time. I hope this brought more clarity to you. If there are any questions, just hit me up and I will try and explain in more detail if there's any confusion. Stay blessed.